Hi, welcome to my channel. Hey, welcome back. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to take this foundation drawing, right, that again established all the zones and all the structure that surrounded the area, and we're going to do now our design theme sketch. All right, so always make sure that you do this phase first. It's going to be super helpful, so as you're kind of talking through the design on your own, you'll be able to kind of just abide by some of these access issues. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my pad of tracing paper, okay? And we'll go ahead and pull a new sheet of paper out. Again, I completely recommend that we use medium weight paper, because you can tell already that, I mean, it sounds solid, and it's going to make for a real nice drawing. All right, so go ahead and just kind of flush that out with your foundation sketch. All right, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, just a little bit. All right, so we can address some of these details. All right. Now, no, just a little bit more. Okay. Now, the area I want to work on are these zones, because this is where it's not going to change too much on this side and also down this lower part of the area that I'm working in. This is the area where I want to try to keep everything together. I want to try to keep this area sort of the themed area, and so it actually has a nice little connection to the structure or the home, but also it has a connection to the outdoors. Okay, so I think one of the things I want to probably keep is I want to keep the window. Okay, so I can still kind of benefit from the being able to see through that, because you've been seeing through it for years. Okay, and I think one of the things that we're going to think about here is maybe making this area maybe a clean area. Maybe it's an area that you can potentially be washing your hands as you come in, before you come in. So this can maybe be in the guise of a fountain, maybe. So I'm kind of thinking maybe we can do something very natural here. So my proposal here would be to maybe make something that's more natural. Maybe it's a stacked stone. Detail. Again, that kind of picks up on the stonework that's down here in the front of the home, or the space. Again, I'm thinking maybe also, what could we do to continue with that look and provide some utility? So a thought here would be to continue that stacked stone and maybe make a shelf area here, right? Maybe this could be a nice little shelf space for putting things down. All right, and there's enough depth there that there could be an area for a sink. So maybe the sink has a bowl, all right, and then the water that comes from that sink can either come from a faucet. It can maybe be coming up from the corner, right? And then if we start to think about the space, maybe there's a bit of a splashback, so that it doesn't wet or make this area here moist. So I'm thinking maybe there can be an area here where there can be some sort of veneer, and there could be maybe a mirror, something that allows you to kind of check yourself as you're coming back into the space. Nice little contrasting area. And then when I come into this area, remember we talked about this area here being like foot space, being able to put your feet up against there. So when we do that, we have to respect that. So I'm going to continue the stacked stone detail. And I'm going to make sure that this is flush with the ground. Okay. So you see the proposal here is to kind of make the clean area, kind of blend in with the outdoors so it doesn't look like, a big stainless steel sinks out there. But there's enough stacked stone there to make a connection, visual connection to the already designed elements that are on the exterior. Okay. Now we talked a little bit about making some small modifications here, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trace over. Oops, sorry, as my paper moves. Don't want that. Okay, I'm going to move down my canvas here so you guys can see. All right. Now, you see I triangulate a line here. Now, in my mind's eye, when I was thinking, that would help me kind of triangulate this shape, but I really don't think I need to do that. I think what I've done here is I've gone ahead and extend it into the space. I don't need to mark it, but what it's going to do, it's going to give me an idea of where I could possibly put some lighting, right? So that I can maybe match up with the lighting that I've got here. So I've got a lighting fixture here that's existing, and all I have to do is carry over a line here, okay? And then when I start to look at my lines of perspective, I estimate a light is going to be probably right about here, because you do want the light to kind of be visually balanced in the space, and I'm thinking that might be the estimate location, and that's going to cast light down right over the washing area, the wash bin area here. I think that'll work out pretty nice. And then remember we talked a little bit about changing this detail. I think what I want to do here, because there isn't a whole lot of foot space in here, and I'm afraid a person might accidentally trip if they fall back into this slanted area. So what I'm going to propose is we maybe extend the landing just a little bit more. So, and again, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head here. I don't want people to think that this is going to be a kind of a scary place to be. So I'm just going to propose an idea. Again, I haven't worked out all the details here. So maybe there's a step. Again, I haven't worked out the step area here. I was just thinking of maximizing this area here. So, but I don't want to change the design too much. So you see why it's valuable to do tracing overlays, because you can start to evaluate what it is that potentially predict what modifications you may have to make to accommodate that detail in an existing space. And you see how quickly we're able to do that without having to go into some sophisticated 2D or 3D program. You're just visually taking a photograph of the space and making modifications of what you see. Okay, and that's the reason why this process of taking photographs and doing overlay sketches is so valuable, because it's all there. All right, so my proposal would be to remove this part of the ramp and maybe possibly extend the stepped space, right? So we have angles here to kind of work together with this angle, and now we have some design continuance that's happening. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit so we can see the overall details, overall effect. And then what we're going to do next is maybe do one final drawing. Again, I won't probably be producing a video of that final drawing, but I think this is a pretty good example of how do we take this summarized idea here, right, where we just had this concept of isolating and kind of doing this sort of this this first line of defense concept and bringing it into the front end of an existing space, but then modifying it, right? Modifying it so that it had a more relevance to the space that we were designing towards. Okay, so again, we use Sharpie pens. You know, I can go back over later with this Sharpie pen here. This is my Identa pen. And you can see the benefits of using something a little bit heavier is that it starts to give your drawing a little more strength, right? Give you a sense of cast shadow and depth. Helps to highlight the particular modification that you're going to make. And then what I would probably do here is, you can see how I made this change in the drawing. I'll just go ahead and strengthen that line so that that stands proud. Okay. So please do not feel the need to redraw things like this. Like if you make a change in direction or see something down the line that you want to modify, just draw through it. Get comfortable with drawing like this. Don't go ahead and think that every drawing has to be absolutely perfect. It doesn't. I'd rather you guys make the changes, do the thinking on these drawings, because when you go to the next phase, phase 3 is when we start to go into 3D modeling, and we take our dimensional information and start to model this. You know where you're going, right? You're not designing in CAD. You're actually just doing the execution of the design. This is where all the thinking happens, and you guys have to remember that that's the value of doing these types of drawings. Okay, so phase 2 is very, very important. You're selecting, right? And then you're refining. You're learning about these things. You're making discoveries, and you're refining it. Take that information and go into phase 3, and it'll just be mostly about modeling and thinking about materials, thinking of color, thinking of all the little things that make this space special. Okay, so that's my video for phase 2, and I'll see you guys at the next video. All right.